Have you ever walked into a garden one morning, expecting to see flowers smiling at the sun, only to find every petal closed, every leaf drooping, and the air strangely quiet? Imagine a place once filled with colors and songs, suddenly wrapped in silence, as if the whole garden had fallen into a deep, mysterious sleep. This is the story of such a garden, a place that whispered secrets, taught lessons, and held a mystery that no one could ignore. And this, my friends, is the tale of why the garden went to sleep. The living garden. Once upon a time, on the edge of a small town, there was a garden unlike any other. It wasn't the biggest, nor the most famous, but it was alive in ways people could never explain. Children believed the flowers giggled when the wind tickled their stems. Old folks swore that if you listened closely, you could hear the roses humming lullabies at dusk. Birds loved to rest on the branches there, and even the butterflies seemed to linger longer, dancing in slow, playful swirls. At the heart of this magical place grew a wide old oak tree named Elderwood. The townspeople didn't know his name, of course. They just called it the Big Oak. But the garden creatures knew. Elderwood had stood for hundreds of years, stretching his arms across the sky, guarding the flowers, shading the ponds, and whispering wisdom through the rustle of his leaves. Around him bloomed a family of flowers: Lyra, the lily, always graceful and kind; Bram, the bold tulip, who loved to boast about how tall he stood; Mira, the marigold, who laughed at everything even when there wasn't a joke; and Soren, the silent violet, who rarely spoke, but always listened. Every evening, when the sun slipped behind the hills, the garden came alive with chatter. The flowers told stories of the day, the frogs sang their songs, and Elderwood shared gentle advice. It was a place of joy, of laughter, and of peace. But peace, as the garden would soon learn, is not meant to be taken for granted. The first sign of change. One morning, the children of the town ran into the garden to play, but something felt wrong. The colors were a little less bright. The lilies didn't open as wide. The tulips didn't stand as tall. Even the bees buzzed half-heartedly, as if they were too tired to care. "Strange," whispered little Amira, a curious girl with braids swinging as she walked. "The garden doesn't look happy today." Her brother, Jonas, shrugged. "Maybe it's just sleepy." "Gardens can't feel things, Amira." But Amira wasn't so sure. She pressed her ear close to Lyra the lily, as she often did when she pretended to hear flower secrets. Except this time, she really did hear something. A faint sigh. "Something is wrong," the lily whispered. Amira jumped back, eyes wide. She wanted to tell Jonas, but he had already run off to chase dragonflies. That night, as the stars blinked above, Elderwood called the garden together. His voice was deep and slow, like a storm rolling in the distance. "My children," he said, "the garden grows weary. We are falling into a slumber not of rest, but of sorrow." The flowers gasped. The frogs croaked nervously. The owls perked their ears. "But why?" asked Bram the bold tulip. "We are strong. We are proud. We are... Wait, are we dying?" "No," Elderwood replied. "Not dying, but hearts are heavy and roots are weak. The balance has shifted." "What balance?" Mira the marigold laughed uneasily. "We're flowers, not tightrope walkers." But Elderwood only shook his leaves. "You will understand soon." And with that, silence wrapped the garden. Scene 3. The sleep deepens. Days passed, and the garden drooped further. Flowers closed early, and some didn't open at all. The pond, once sparkling, grew cloudy. The butterflies vanished. Even Mira the marigold, who laughed at everything, had grown quiet. Amira noticed the change every day she visited. She tried watering the flowers more, singing to them, even bringing her favorite books to read aloud under elderwood's branches. But nothing worked. One evening, as she read a fairy tale, she heard a faint murmur beneath her feet. She pressed her palms to the ground, and the soil spoke. "We are tired," it said softly. "The world above takes and takes, but little is given back. Roots stretch thin. Life fades. The garden must sleep." Amira's heart pounded. She didn't understand all the words, but she understood the feeling. Sadness. That night, she dreamt of the garden shrouded in shadows, with elderwood's branches bare and lifeless. She woke with tears on her cheeks. Scene 4. The voice of pain. Back in the garden, Elderwood gathered his strength to speak once more. "Pain," he rumbled, "is not our enemy. It is a messenger. It tells us that something must change." Lyra the lily trembled. "But what must change? We are only flowers." Elderwood's voice grew heavy. "It is not just us. The children of men forget that we breathe together. Their fires burn the skies. Their waters carry poisons. They rush, they take, they hurry, and they forget to notice. The garden feels their neglect. And so, we must rest." Soren the violet whispered, "Will we ever wake again?" "Perhaps," said Elderwood, "if they learn to see once more, if they learn to listen." Amira's journey. Amira couldn't stay silent anymore. She ran home, tugging on Jonas's sleeve. "You have to listen. The garden is sick. Elderwood says it's because people forgot to care." Jonas laughed. "Amira, you're making up stories again." "No, I'm not," she cried. "If the garden sleeps forever, we'll lose it. Don't you care?" Her brother frowned, but said nothing. So Amira went to the townspeople. She told them what she heard: the sighs of the lilies, the warnings of the soil, the sadness of the oak. Most adults shook their heads. Some smiled kindly and patted her hair. A few even laughed. But one person listened, an old gardener named Milo, who had tended small plots outside the town for decades. His hands were calloused, his back bent, but his eyes were sharp. "I believe you, child," he said. "Gardens speak, but most have forgotten how to hear them. Show me." Amira led him to Elderwood. Milo placed a hand on the bark, closed his eyes, and nodded slowly. "Yes," he whispered. "I feel it. The sorrow runs deep." Amira's eyes filled with hope. "Can we fix it?" Milo sighed. "Not with quick tricks, not with more water or brighter songs. It will take care, patience, sacrifice, pain. For only when people learn to give back can the garden wake again." The awakening effort. Together, Amira and Milo began tending the garden with new devotion. They cleared the cloudy pond, pulling weeds with aching hands. They planted new seeds, not just for beauty, but for balance. Herbs, wildflowers, and vines. They gathered children from town to help, teaching them how to listen to the soil, how to move gently among the stems, how to respect the bees and butterflies. At first, the work was hard. The children complained of sore backs. The adults scoffed, saying it was useless. But slowly, quietly, something began to shift. The garden stirred. Lyra the lily opened one petal wider. Mira the marigold managed a small laugh again. Elderwood's leaves rustled with faint gratitude. But the garden did not wake fully. Not yet. Scene 7. The lesson of pain. One day, Amira asked Elderwood, "Why won't you wake? We're trying so hard." Elderwood's voice was softer now, weary but kind. Because growth is never instant, child. The pain you feel in your hands, the sweat on your brow, the waiting that seems endless, these are not punishments. They are the very things that shape you. The garden sleeps not to punish, but to remind. Comfort makes people forget. Pain makes them remember. Amira nodded slowly. She looked at her dirty hands, her scraped knees, and smiled for the first time in days. The garden wakes. Seasons passed. The children grew stronger. Even Jonas, once doubtful, joined in. He laughed as he carried water buckets, and his voice echoed through the trees. Slowly, the whole town began to notice. Adults came, curious, then stayed to help. Families shared food beneath elderwood's branches. They sang, they worked, they rested together. And one spring morning, something miraculous happened. The garden opened its eyes. Flowers bloomed brighter than ever. The pond sparkled like glass. Butterflies danced in golden swarms. The air buzzed with bees, birds, and laughter. Elderwood stood taller, his leaves whispering joy. "The garden is awake," Lyra the lily sang. "Yes," Elderwood boomed, "and so are you." The garden had gone to sleep, not out of anger, but out of sorrow. It taught the people that comfort makes you forget, but struggle makes you grow. Through patience, work, and pain, they learned to care again, not just for the garden, but for each other. And if you ever pass by that small town and walk into its garden, you may hear Elderwood's voice on the wind. Remember, children, pain is not your enemy. It is the hand that shapes you, the root that anchors you, the rain that wakes you. Without it, you would never truly bloom.